ओम भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। सर्वोपप्लवरहितः प्रज्ञानघनः प्रत्यगर्थो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि ओम शांति शांति शांति। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ओम Last time we saw Sapta Pranaha, Sapta Samidaha, Sapta Homaha, Ime Sapta Lokaha, Ityadi, all that has been born out of that Brahman. We have discussed what does it mean by Sapta Prana. Conventionally, pranas are Pancha Prana. But when it is told Sapta Pranaha, you have to look at the contextually. You cannot go by convention. Contextually, it means 7 senses which are there on the face, which are primarily means for interaction, means for exhausting karma phalas, and means for creating new karma phalas. They are pranaha. Yasmat gnanendriyani shirshi sthitani gnanendriyani bahispandante. That is Sapta Prana. Just excuse me for a minute. I'll connect to Bluetooth so that you can hear better. Hold on. Now, so, and karmanischa. So, karmani means karma phalanischa. Ishvara being an order of dharma. Whole universe is governed, functions harmoniously through different laws. As Pujya Swamiji would say, order. For particles, there is a physical order. For plant kingdom, there is a botanical order. For animal kingdom, there is a zoological order. Various laws are governing. Similarly, for karma and karma phala, there is an order of dharma. So, this particular order, which is responsible for unending and beginningless travel of Jivatma in terms of different births, different yonis, as well as in terms of performing different karmas. That is also Ishvara's manifestation. Or you can say that is nothing but Ishvara, the order. So, when it is said Sarva Karmanischa, all karmas, that is one way. Karma means karma phalani as well as karmas. Here, primarily, karmas are referred to Shrauta karmas. Smarta karmas evolved or were given by different rishis and maharshis. Laukika karmani we do because we have intellect. We decide and we do certain karmas out of our choice. When Shruti says all the karmas have come from Ishvara, it means Vedic karmas. All the four types, Kartavya karmani, Kamya karmani, desire prompted, Kartavyani to be done, contributory actions, and Prayaschitta karmani, for certain omissions and commissions, your antidote, and Pratishiddha karmani also. Since you are given freedom, we have freedom over our action, there is a possibility we may do something, and that which ought not to be done is called Pratishiddha karma. You understand these Yamaniyamas? Please remember, in Shastras, when there is something said that one should not do, you're forbidden to do, you're asked not to do. That is because there is a possibility of doing. If there were no possibility of doing, Shastra need not tell me that thing. Like for modern example, nowadays you have to tell, okay, let's fix the screen time to our children. And the family has to adhere to screen time. But when I grew up, there was no screen time. There was only told, let us fix up the radio time. There used to be big wall radio when I was young. Some of you might have seen. Only this program you have to see. So not otherwise. That not is given because there was possibility. So all these Yamaniyamas, Ahimsa, Satya, Akrodh, Ikstyadi, since there is possibility of Himsa, since there is possibility of Satya, and therefore it is important to understand that though there is a mandate Satyam Vada, and there is a mandate Niyam Yam Niyama, there is Satyam. But the very definition of Satyam is Andruta Varjitam Yathartha Bhashanam Satyam. Not to speak untruths. The statements which are devoid of, the statements which are free from Andrutam. And Yathartha, as it is. As it is means what? You may say, okay, when you are not telling Anrutam, the only choice is as it is. No. We can say something, even though as it is, can imply something else. That communication, verbal and non-verbal, both, can be such, can be interpreted either way. Like in English, when you change the comma, the whole meaning changes. In Sanskrit, you change the vibhakti, the whole meaning changes. Or our famous example of Yudhishthira. Ashwathama hataha. He was asked by Dronacharya. He was too attached to his son. You know, this Dhritarashtra. And Dronacharya personifies Putra Sakti. Dhritarashtra is nano, very consolidated Putra Sakti. This Dronacharya was normal, normal Putra Sakti. And they knew that was his weakness. So Bhima started telling Ashwathama hataha, Ashwathama hataha. Drona could not believe this. It could not happen because I have trained him. Though he didn't deserve it, though he didn't qualify for certain vidya, I have given him. That is why qualifications is necessary. Otherwise, this vidya can be misused and abused. And he did abuse toward that Parikshita. Keep aside that story. And by the way, this Ekalavya, The thumb was removed because he was hunter. Please see Dronacharya in a right perspective. We have bought Christian interpretations. And people are talking, have all things about Dronacharya. No. He was the one who taught dharma to Yudhishthira. Though he learned a lot from his grandfather, Bhishma, and his mother, it is okay, but it was a Gurukula Vasa. And he was given dharma. So Dronacharya lived dharma. And he had some unconscious problems. So there were attachment to Dronacharya. That's okay. Ashwatthama, let us don't discuss that. But then when he asked this thumb, and Ashwatthama, out of that attachment, he gave certain vidyas. Eklavya took away without permission, and he had promised. It is like private tuition. When you have a private tuition for your child, the teacher is not supposed to tell you without your permission with this net and thing like that. He can teach. He tells privately to the student that I will put it online and you join me in a Zoom and this is password. While teaching only this fellow, I will teach another 10 fellows. And I'll charge you less or blah, blah. Or even just for the sake of compassion. No. When you commit to the contract that I'll teach only to this son, this person personally, you have to adhere. Dronacharya had committed. He had promised Bhishma that I will not teach anyone else other than this Kaurava's prince. And that contract, and Bhishma in the return had promised him. He knew the worth of Dronacharya. He had promised that you will get the same status and the position that I enjoy in this kingdom. Though you don't belong to the dynasty, you will have the status and perquisites, in modern jargon, all the perks. And he was given. That's why he was hurt. Why did you do this without asking? It will be a blemish on my character that I taught somebody. And nobody is going to believe me that you just learn by putting my idol and you learn very subtly, that will not believe. And secondly, he being a hunter can misuse this vidya in killing the birds and animals in masses. Therefore, he said, now I'll take the thumb. So you cannot use all the vidyas. And it is mentioned in Mahabharata that Dronacharya taught him how to use the bow and arrow with these two fingers, so that his ajivika, livelihood, is taken care of. So, Anadhikar, when he had given all this to Ashwatthama, though he didn't deserve, you see, any balam that you get, you should have sanyama. One should have restraint. Just because you're powerful, you keep on shouting and commanding and controlling everybody. That's not the right use of the balam. One has to use the power. One has to use the resources well, judiciously, with restraint. And that Arjuna had it. He never got carried away by his certain instincts, certain reactions in terms of anger and hatred and blah, blah, blah. He was very judicious, sanyama, which Ashwatthama didn't seem to have it, what is mentioned in Mahabharata, and he lost it. The glaring example is when the whole thing was lost and he fought and sent all those astras to kill even the embryo of Uttara, Arjuna's son, who was in embryo state, Parikshit. Anyway, coming back to Satyam. So he was being attached. They knew that is weakness. Bhima started shouting that Ashwatthama hataha, Ashwatthama hataha. He had a doubt. Really? Because I have taught him enough, he cannot be killed. I am concerned only that he may not misuse the vidya. Drona had some stress within himself, anxiety, knowing fully well that I gave him, but he had the inner gut feeling, may he not use this. And suddenly to hear Hataha, more so when Arjuna is not around, they and Karnam would never kill him. Arjuna had all those weapons which he had it, and so it is almost impossible to kill. How could have been killed? That was his question. And he didn't trust anybody. That was only Yudhishthira whom he trusted. And he asked him, Ashwatthama hato, hataha va? Is he killed, Ashwatthama? Imagine, in that commotion, in the noise of the battle, all the weapons and warriors were shouting and making trumps and trumpets and blowing. It is difficult to hear also. He went near Yudhishthira and asked, Hataha? Yudhishthira confirmed, Ashwatthama hataha. But that is not Andruta Varjitam. There is some shade, some shadow of Andrutattvam in that statement. And out of his own guilt, because Yudhishthira was such a deliberate person, that he was truthful spontaneously. He became so deliberate that his life became so spontaneous that to speak untruth required some deliberations. Habitually truthful. He had to put in effort to speak untruth. when for us, when we start the life, you have to put in effort to speak truth. He was so deliberate person turned into spontaneously truthful, and he just had a guilt about himself, and therefore he says, Ataha gajaha are narova kunjarova naja. So that possibility is there. So said Satyam. Karmani means all those Vedic karmas. Nitya, Kartavya karma, again the category Nitya Naimittikam, Kamya karmani, then Prayaschitta karmani and Pratishitta karmani. All of them were born from Ishvara. Now just to connect you to that 15th chapter, Urdhva Moolam Adashakam Ashwatham Prahuravyam Chandamsi Yasya Paranani Yastam Vedasa Vedavi. Chandamsi Yasya Paranani. Now continuing the creative process or talking about the creation, look at the 9th mantra, and there is a 10th mantra is a summary of this, the first chapter of second munda. Look at the 9th. Atas samudra girayasya sarve. Atas samudra girayasya sarve. Asmat syandyante sindhavas sarvarupaha. Yasmat syandante sindhavas sarvarupaha. Atascha sarva oshadhaya rasascha. Atascha sarva oshadhayo rasascha. Yenaisha bhutaistishtate yantaratma. Yenaisha bhutaistishtate yantaratma. Atas samudra girayasya sarve. Asmat syandante sindhavas sarvarupaha. Atas samudra girayasya sarve. Asmat syandante sindhavas sarvarupaha. Atascha sarva oshadhayo rasascha. Yenaisha bhutaistishtate yantaratma. Atascha sarva oshadhayo rasascha. Yenaisha bhutaistishtate yantaratma. Ataha, from this. Ataha doesn't mean therefore. Okay? Asmat Purushat. Kaha Purushaha? Divyo hyamurtah Purusha iti purve uktaha Purusha. That Purusha was revealed as Divyaha, Amurta, Ityadi, etc. We have discussed that in the beginning of this chapter. From that Purusha, Samudraha are born. All the seas or oceans were born from it. Sarve Samudraha. That sarve word has anuvritti, means it is to be connected with all. Sarve Samudraha, sarve Girayaha, sarve Sindavaha. All oceans, all mountains, Giravaha, and all Sindavaha. The word Sindhu in Sanskrit is a proper noun as well as this general. And Sindhu has two meanings, and we can say, Indians can say three meanings. Sindhu means ocean, and Sindhu means river. And Sindhu means given river. There is one Sindhu river in Punjab. Originally in India, it flows from Pakistan and comes to India. That Sindhu Nadi is also Sindhu. All rivers can be called as Sindhu, and all oceans also can be called as Sindhu. Now, which meaning is to be taken here? As I said, you have to see it contextually. Most of the confusion that prevails about our dharma, about our culture, about Shastra, because people don't see it contextually. In other words, you have to see it holistically. You cannot just pick up the word and say. You cannot pick up the sentence and say, like this. These are all modern yogis, and our beloved Ramdev often quotes this, Tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Bhagavan has said, Krishna Bhagavan has said, may you become yogi, Arjuna. But what yoga you mean, and what Krishna meant, and what Arjuna meant, they are diagonally opposite. You are talking of asana pranayamas. That is another pity about yoga. All yoga institute have limited to asana pranayama. Yoga is Ashtanga yoga. You have to start with yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, and last four limbs are purely psychological. Pratyahar, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Ramdev and all these modern yogi quotes this and says, therefore we also should become yogi. The context is different. In Bhagavad Gita, at least 10 to 12 contexts are there where the word yoga has a different meaning. And I can vouch and say certainly, in Gita it doesn't mean this asana pranayama. Because there is not a single word about it. Entire Gita. Forget about that near that verse or before the verses. So it is not. But so when you take this, a word or a sentence without a context, you misinterpret. What I'm trying to tell you this. So Sindhu has to be seen in contextually. What are the other words? Syandante Sindavaha. Sindavaha means plural. Many Sindhus. And which Sindhu? Ocean is also Sindhu. And Syandante means flows. Many Sindhu flow. That means rivers. It can be only river, not ocean or not a given river Sindhu, because Sindavaha, plural is there. Asmat Syandante Sindavaha sarve sarvarupaha. Varieties of rivers, various rivers. They flow out from this Purusha. Atascha sarva oshadayaha sambhavanti. Atascha asmat purushat. from this Purusha only, Oshadayaha Sambhavanti. All this Oshadaya means all these Vanaspataya, they are born out of that Purusha. And what he says, Rasasya, all various taste. Like rice and wheat and all kinds of things are born, or fruit, all vegetables and fruits and grains and everything. And each one has a different taste. And even a given species has variety of taste. You only require a tongue to know the difference, Like I've seen people, they taste the rice, cook rice and tell. In Gujarat, there are 3-4 varieties of rice available. They say, this is this variety. It is very finer, very subtle difference of taste. All rasa. Yeah. And then, see, he is coming to the conclusion. Yena isha, yena esha purusha, bhutaihi tishthate. Because of these rasas, because of these oshadhis, he tishthate, he abides. Purusha abides as antaratma, as a self. Then in between you have to supplement. What? These rasas nourish the gross body. And because of the gross body being there, there is a abode. The very definition, we have seen again this earlier. The definition of this gross body is Sukha Dukkha Bhoga Ayatanam. It is a home. It is the house where you can contact that person. I have to add an adjective, is a transit house. Fellow is on transit. He lives in this body as long as karma phalas are there. The transit house is there, therefore Jivatma abode. Though we call him Mr. So-and-so, Tom and David and Smith and Kantilal and Ramila Ben and Madhvi Ben, whatever names you give. But I am sure Chitragupta must be having barcodes for all the Jivatmas, like Walmart products, they scan it and then everything comes out. So Jivatma is having barcode. This time he may be Kantilal or she may be Madhvi Ben, whatever name. Who knows next Janma? He may end up in Tommy and Sweetie, the dog. Karma phala is being what they are. And he may end up being nameless also, being born as some worm in some Amazon jungles to be the just lunch or dinner for some snake or some frog or some vulture. It's, I don't know what you call it. It is just a home, transit home. He is there and goes. See this wisdom. Look at the culture, the very language, the very use of the words and languages reveals the wisdom of the Veda. When someone dies in Gujarati, Hindi, and I have checked with all languages. I am a little poor in now learning new languages. But then I have checked, they say Mar Gaya. Mari Gya. So died and gone. We don't say just died. Died and gone. That means there was somebody inside. Though this is Pancha Mahabhuta, as inert as this table, as inert as the chair that you and I are sitting upon, as inert as your instrument, mobile or iPad or computer, whatever it is. It is sentient because of the presence of the Jivatma along with Sukshma body. Once he lives, this body becomes what it is truly, inert. So that because of this rasa, yena means by this rasa. Rasa doesn't mean the taste alone. You have to interpret all the essence. You eat the food. That verse in the 15th chapter, Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam dehamashrita pranapana samayukta pachamyannam chaturvidham. What do you mean by pachami? Bhagavan says, I am the fire in the stomach. Look at this another thing. This truth. See, this truth that is the transit house is revealed by the word margaya. The another truth that Ishvara is there as a Vaishwana Agni. Ham Vaishwanaro Bhutva. You go to Ayurveda doctor. They will say, your Vaishwana Agni is Manda, if you have digestive problem. Jatragni is Manda. That's a word they use. The wisdom is reflected in this conversation. What does he cook? There is double cooking. When you cook outside, so that it becomes eatable, or sometimes at least chewable. Some food you cannot chew, So it eatable, and that is digested means absorbable. The wheat no more remains wheat, rice no more remains rice. Whatever is necessary or useful for the body is absorbed, and that is unnecessary, unwanted is thrown out, is collected, garbage. That is job of Vaishwana, that processing house, which processes all that you eat. We need double cooking. Just by the way, an argument, since I got a chance, let me put a late cut. The chant that for a vegetarian person you need double cook. For herbivorous you need double cook. For carnivorous you don't need double cook. Have you ever seen a lion or a tiger or any other carnivorous animal cooking the meat and then eat? They just eat, and that cooking takes place in the stomach. That Vaishwanara is powerful. We humans need to cook. That itself shows we better don't eat. The stomach, the body is not designed for that. A snake eats away the eggs of its own and others. Other birds, they eat the eggs, but it has not to boil it. Snake doesn't have to make an omelette and so I can eat and digest. We don't need. So we cannot be non-vegetarian. We are designed to be herbivores. And Swamiji would tell this, if you believe in Darwinian theory, or if you believe in Hindu vision, there is a little difference. Hindus say that we are sons of rishis. It's a gotra, pravartaka. And Darwin said you are sons and daughters of Adi chimpanzee. Original father is chimpanzee. So you have come from monkeys. And I feel like adding, some people behave also. They like to connect to the roots and hold on to the roots. Their behavior is so erratic and irresponsible, jerk behaviors and restless, so much they have. Maybe because of psychological problems of anxiety and control and whatever it is. But they connect to the roots, So, but in either case, rishis were vegetarian and chimpanzees were, of course, vegetarian. So better be vegetarian. Anyway, coming back to this rasaha means all those nourishing elements which nourish the body, and because of which the Jivatma gets an abode. Yenaisha bhutaihi tishtante hyantaratma. Because of whom these bodies, this antaratma, tishtante, he stands. Having said this, the Rishi concludes the entire section, and again you will see the conclusion. In the first Mundaka, very first chapter, this mantra, Yathornanabhi, is over. There is another mantra, Aksharat Samyak, is over. So many times, but subject matter being very subtle and the habitual error being so strong, the Jiva Bhava, you have to study again and again. You have to study from a competent teacher again and again. So he concludes, look at the mantra. Purusha evedam vishwam. Purusha evedam vishwam. Karma tapo brahma paramrutam. Karma tapo brahma paramrutam. Etadyo veda nihitam guhayam. Etadyo veda nihitam guhayam. So vidya granthim vikirati saumya. So vidya granthim vikirati saumya. Purusha evedam vishwam karma tapo brahma paramrutam. Purusha evedam vishwam karma tapo brahma paramrutam. Etadyo veda nihitam guhayam. So vidya granthim vikirati iha saumya. Etadyo veda nihitam guhayam. So vikirati. So vidya granthim vikirati iha saumya. Before, let us translate this and then I'll explain the essence. Purusha eva idam vishwam. Idam vishwam. What is the meaning of vishwam? Vividha pratyaya gocharam idam sarvam iti vishwam. That all the cognitions that you have, pratyas means cognitions. Through various cognitions, through various vrittis, all that you know through your sense organs, directly or enhancing the capacity of sense organs. Meaning thereby, you don't see with your naked eyes those bacteria and those WBC and RBC, but you enhance the capacity of seeing by using microscope. You enhance the capacity of seeing by using telescope. You don't see certain stars. All that you comprehend through sense organs. And by the way, sense organs doesn't mean only these eyes, ear, nose, tongues, and this sense of touch. Sense organ means karmendriyani also. The adjective is all. And mind is, antahkaranam is also sense organ. All these senses which are there externally in the body, they are called bahikaranani. And the internally, the antahkaranam, it is called antahkaranam. The mind is antahkaranam. All that you comprehend through antahkaranam or senses is Purusha. This is Mahavakya. Whole. Nothing is separate from Purusha. All that you see is Purusha. Vishwam karma tapaha brahma paramrutam. All the karmas, all the tapaha, etc. is from Purusha. I'll limit to that. I'll explain all these words little later once I make you clear about the purpose of this mantra. Etadyo veda nihitam guhaya. Yaha Purusha. Hey Saumya. Teacher says Saumya is in a sense of, oh beloved, oh son, oh beloved, one yaha kaschid Purusha. Somebody knows this Purusha in nihitam guhaya, that is placed in the cave of heart. You have to understand this. Don't translate it as a cave of heart. It is very dangerous if there is a cavity in the heart, okay? Medically. And you may not survive also if that is a cave of heart. not studying Shastra. They keep translating and blubbering out cave of heart. There is no cave and there is no heart. Okay? We'll see the meaning. Saha avidya granthim vikirati ihaiva. The granthi means not. Not here is in the sense of bondage. The bondage caused by avidya vikirati. He or she disconnects, he or she removes the bondage caused by avidya. He or she becomes free from the bondage caused by avidya. He or she destroys that bondage caused by avidya. What is the tatparya? Look here. Listen this carefully. This is important. What is essence? There is another vakya. You might have heard. Sarvam khalu idam brahma. Similar vakya is Purusha evedam sarvam. Purusha is sarvam. Same vakyas are there in Purusha. What does it mean? I have talked this earlier, little analysis. Now, this is like, what is? It's a beautiful, fragrant red rose. There is one word. It's a beautiful, fragrant red rose. So there, it reveals certain fact of what? Fact about something, that there is a rose. And all other words, beautiful, fragrant rose, the two words, beautiful, or say big or red, let us say, beautiful, fragrant red rose. So red, fragrant, big, they are, and the rose, in English we call it just adjective. There's also Sanskrit, we call it Visheshanani. But what is the relation between adjective and the noun here? They are called as Samanadhikaranyam. They have a Saman Adhikaran. They talk about the same object, like Saptami, Adhikarana is Saptami. What is told by all of them is only one thing, but the rest three can make sense, something different, only when there is a noun that rose. Otherwise, if you say it's a beautiful, fragrant, big, then they don't converge in one meaning. They remain different. Something is there beautiful, something is there red, something is there fragrant. It's a beautiful, red, fragrant, you can say, sight also. You are in a valley of flowers. In the evening, the sun is setting, the fragrance are coming. The valley of flowers means all you see the fragrance, and it is all reddish. The horizon is reddish, and there is a reddish shadow on the face of the people. It can mean that also. It's a beautiful, red, fragrant, you can say evening. You can say rose. All their meaning converges into rose. That is called Saman Adhikar. Now here, listen this. Sarvam khalu idam brahma. Or Purusha eva idam sarvam. That idam sarvam. Purusha. That's a tatparya, you know. Sarvam Brahma. Khalu means indeed. That's a tatparya. But there is no relation of adjective and noun between Sarvam and Brahma. Sarvam Khalu idam Brahma. If you put it in an English prose order, it would be idam khalu idam sarvam Brahma. Indeed, idam sarvam, all these is Brahman. Sarvam khalu idam Brahma, in English prose order would mean, indeed, khalu, certainly, idam sarvam, all this, Brahma. So, all this is not an adjective to Brahman, in a way. Similarly, Purusha evedam sarvam. Sarvam, idam sarvam, Purusha eva. All this is nothing but Purusha. What is the relation? That's where you need to learn grammar. You need to learn language. It is called Bhad Samanadhikaran. Means what? Bhada means what? Negation. You negate the direct meaning of the word and see the intended lakshartha. If I use this modern jargon, you transcend the known meaning. All this is Brahman. Let me explain you with our famous example, then I'll come to Tatparya. Our Swamiji's good old example. I had 1 ton of gold and 100,000 ornaments are made out of it. There are varieties of bangles and chains and rings and nose rings and all kinds of things are there. And each category, various designs are there. 100,000, 1 lakh ornaments. I can say these 2 sentences. These are 100,000 ornaments. And I can as well say all these into bracket 100,000 is nothing but gold. All these ornaments are nothing but gold. That means, just listen my English to make you understand. All this, that ornamentness is negated. Means all these, suppose I qualify that statement, all these ornaments, saying this chain, all these chains and bangles and nose rings and everything, all these are gold. Means the chainness is negated, bangleness is negated, ringness is negated. You transcend that in spite of seeing, and you see all of them as gold. Do you understand this? Say yes or no, at least shake the head. Yes. Okay, that's better. No need to show me thumbs, okay? That's anyway, good that you showed, I understand. But Indian, different meaning. Anyway, okay. So you transcend that. But listen, you don't fail to see that. When you say all this is gold, that doesn't mean you don't see the chain, you don't see the bangle, you don't see the rings, etc. Much less, you don't need them. That also you don't say. When you want something to be worn on your finger, you will pick up the ring, not the gold. Similarly, when you want something in your neck, you need some chains, not the gold. Neither you can negate that perception. Listen this carefully. Nor you can negate their usefulness. Then at the same time you say that is gold. What is the reality of that thing? That is where the word comes mithya. Please understand. I can say all the ornaments are mithya. Please understand. What is mithya? There is no object called mithya. Please note down. There is no object called mithya. In your understanding about the reality of a given object, it is referred as mithya. The chain, in terms of your understanding, what understanding? Understanding of the reality of the chain. What is the reality of chain? What is the essence of chain? What is the truth of chain? The chain is gold. Essence is gold. Then what is chain? It is not real, though they use the word. Not real doesn't mean you don't see. Not real doesn't mean you don't use. Not real doesn't mean it is valueless. It is there, it is used. It has empirical reality. It is useful as long as this body is there. But the truth of it, the very essence of it, the very existence of a chain is borrowed from gold. That is your understanding. You understand? It is the knowledge. Mithya is a knowledge, not a vastu. People don't understand this. And they say these Vedantins are telling whole Jagat Mithya. If Jagat is Mithya, why do you eat? And when you go there, why do you take Dakshina? They tell this. If it is Mithya, why don't you pass through this wall? If everything is Brahman, you are also Brahman, wall is Brahman, mountain is Brahman, lion is Brahman, snake is Brahman, even cockroach is Brahman. Why are you going away from it? Listen, when I say Mithya, what do I mean? My understanding. Ultimately, it is Brahman. That's all. This is gold. Ultimately, gold. If I use, as long as I have body, I need chain to be worn. I need ring to be worn. So, Mithya is a knowledge. Your understanding, in my understanding of the object, in terms of the reality of the object, that is Mithya. Okay? Please understand. Vastu per se is not Mithya. What is Mithya? Chain is Mithya, means chain is because the gold is. Bengal is because the gold is. Bengal shines as yellow. If the shine belongs to gold, the yellowness belongs to gold, the value belongs, even the very existence belongs to gold. Similarly, if everything is Brahman, Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahman, or Purusha Evedagum Sarvam, what is the meaning? Meaning is whatever is because of Brahman. Just as the very existence of 100,000 ornaments is, that is the gold, borrowed from gold. When I say chain is, isness belongs to gold. Similarly, anything is, that isness belongs to that Brahman. And what is the reality of the chain? We have a word called Mithya. So the whole world is, that is reality is Brahman. And what is the reality that I see and experience? That knowledge, that understanding that it is Mithya. That means Mithya doesn't mean absence of a thing. Mithya doesn't mean you fail to perceive. And Mithya doesn't mean you don't use it. The very meaning of the sentence. See the shift, how Shruti moves. Adhyarop apavad. That is what, or they say Shakha Chandra Nyaya. Two things are implied in this sentence. I will discuss it again tomorrow, if the time permits. Purusha Evedagum Sarvam. One point is, as I explained to you, when I say all that is there, 100,000 is gold, that means all the ornaments, chainness, bengalness, ringness is Mithya. Similarly, objectness, fanness, tableness, watchness, mobileness, houseness, apartmentness, roadness, even this bodiness is Mithya. Now, this sentence is told in the conclusion of the discussion Look at the Shruti. This is where you need a teacher to study Shastra. This is where you need a parampara. And that is where you certainly need a Srotriya Acharya who can unfold it properly. Really, sometimes also you might be wondering why I'm telling all this often and often. Because my work takes me to Acharya Sabha, all functions. And Swami's talk this, I really have a pain here, okay? They don't understand. The Shruti Tatparya, look at it, started by saying it has all come from Ishvara, from Akshara Brahma. The Brahman becomes a creator of everything, and now Shruti says, nothing is really created. See the jump. All that now, all these mantras, Sapta Pranaha Asmat, Sapta Girayaha Asmat, Sapta Sindhava Asmat, rivers came from Brahman, ocean came from Brahman, mountains came from Brahman, pranas came from Brahman, Homa, everything, all these mantras, last 4, 5 mantras, they talk Shrutis, everything has come from Brahman. Come from Brahman, and ultimately everything is Brahman. That means Tatparya, essence of telling the creative process is not to tell that is a creation. The essence of this teaching is, it is not creation, it is manifestation. Though we use the word creation, exactly like saying, there was one brick of gold, and from that brick all the chains have come, all the rings have come, and all the bangles have come. And then I say, whatever these chains and bangles are is ultimately gold. That means what? My Tatparya is not in describing this creation. Tatparya is not to prove that this is created. The essence is to tell that there is no creation, it is only Ishvara's manifestation. There is no creation of 100,000 ornaments, it is only manifestation of gold. The gold itself manifests as chain. When I say this, from this gold came the chain and the bangle and rings and etc. And then I say, this is all gold. What does it mean? It means gold alone is manifesting in front of your eyes as a chain. Gold alone is manifesting in front of your eyes as a bangle, etc. Whatever, just now we saw the chain and bangle is reality, is mithya. And what is mithya is vacha rambhanam vikaro nama deyam. It is only in the tongue, it holds at the tongue level, and it is only manifestation of gold. Therefore, that is the Tatparya of all Upanishad. That is the Tatparya of all Gita. That is the Tatparya of all Vedantic text. And just to connect you with one mantra, Isha Vasyam Idam Sar. All these Isha Buddhya Achadaniyam, you have to cover everything with the Ishvara Buddhi. There's a figurative use. I can tell somebody, you have to cover all these 100,000 ornaments with gold Buddhi. There is no real covering. Like covering your car. You can put a car cover, seat cover. You don't have to cover the vale. This is all Brahman. It is here. The whole process is cognitive. You have to understand. Then this person is most normal person. When I say everything is mithya, look at Shruti went to the last extent of saying. I'll just connect the last dot here. That yenaida purusha tishthate yantaratma. So the body also is created from that Aksharam Brahma. And body itself is mithya now. Purusha evedagum sarvam. That means this body is equally mithya as this wall and the entire Jagat. And in this mithya world, it is only mithya laws that work. Exactly like in my dream. Suppose hypothetically, I come to your dream. You bring me in your dream, but I cannot come. It's your private phone. That is your Swiss account. Only the owner can go there. So you bring me in and I tell you that whole dream is mithya and you are everything. And you realize that. And then you ask me, Swamiji, if everything is mithya, why do I need water? Why can't I drink the water which is lying near my bed? So let me use this Swamiji's word, okay? I am tempted. Oh, Mr. Idiot. Your thirst is also mithya. And that it has the same reality as that water. So the thirst can be quenched by only dream water. No waking water can quench the thirst. Similarly, when I say Jagat is mithya, that doesn't mean I can walk through the wall. Because body is equally mithya. Look at that last mantra. Remember, this is where people commit mistake. They say everything is Bhagavan, minus me. Minus me. Minus my body. Sarvam Brahman. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahman. They say that it is easy to blabber in the court. What's a mantra? Yenaisha bhutaihi tishthate antarat. By that, bodies, bhutahat, whatever is, that in that isness, Purusha manifests as sentiency, consciousness. So body is mithya. Jagat is mithya. Tatparya of this sentence, Purusha evedam vishwam is Vishwa mithya, Purusha satya. Jagan mithya, Brahma satya. Jivo, pravakshami yaduktam shastra kotibhihi. Slokardena pravakshami. There is a sloka. Shankaracharya says, I'll tell you in half sloka. Shloka ardena pravaksha. Yaduktam shastra kotibhihi. All that is said in all the shastras. What is the vakya? Brahma satyam jagan mithya jivo brahmaiva napara. That's all. Brahman is satyam, jagat is mithya, and the fellow who tells this, that idiot, that ahankara, that jivatma who tells this, jiva brahmaiva. What is that? That is what told in the previous mantra. E bhutaihi tishthate antaratma. So that Purusha is antaratma. I am Jagat Karanam Brahma. That is the knowledge. Or that Jagat Karanam Brahman is me. That is the knowledge. Like a wave saying, I am the ocean. As what? Mr. H2O. Or ocean is me. I am not there. Means as individuality, wave, I am not there. Ultimate reality of myself is what? Gita Bhagavan says, Kshetragnam chapi mam viddhi sarva kshetreshu bha. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetramitya vidhiyate. Etadyo vetti tam prahu kshetragna iti tadvidah. Kshetragnam chapi mam viddhi sarva kshetreshu bha. 13th chapter, first verse and first line of second verse. Hey Arjuna, know this body can be called as kshetra. And one who knows the body is kshetragna, means I, the subject, the one who resides in the body. Bhagavan immediately dismantled this by saying, I am the one in every body as a kshetragna. You are not. That is the meaning of Purusha evedagum sarva. Please think over. It's a very important verse. Mantra, not verse. Just go through it, what you heard and noted again. And tomorrow, if situation permits, I will continue. Or why I'm telling you, let me conclude, then I will make an announcement. ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।